Welcome to Tea Time, the podcast. I am Cassie Marina, fondly known as the Branding Queen, and I am a digital branding expert helping businesses get online and thrive doing so. I am passionate about sharing my knowledge through content creation like this podcast, online classes, and workshops, as well as through the services of my branding agency to help you develop your online systems. Think of this podcast as the place to get the latest advice, strategies, tips, news, and inspiration on building your brand online using the tools available to us, but most importantly, thought-provoking content to improve your mindset, to maximize on these tools and put context to day-to-day developments in the online world of business with a little bit of tea dishing facts and sass, because I really want you to thrive online. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let's begin. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Tea Time, the podcast. And as you can tell by the title of this podcast, it's all about manifesting your goals. And I'm going to, another preface here. Preface this by saying that it is uncomfortable to talk about this, but I feel very called to do this. And I feel like this is a continuation to my Instagram post, the one with the steering wheel, with the nails and all that, right? So if you are familiar with my Instagram page, my content, and you saw that post, this is a bit of a continuation, and I really don't want the message to be lost in the actual material aspect of it, but it's just about achieving those unachievable goals. And if you haven't checked out that post, definitely go check it out so that you have context to what this episode is about. And I'm going to say this again. If you are not into the woo-woo stuff and you don't believe in that, then this isn't the episode for you. So you can hop off now. You can skip this episode and go listen to another episode that is more like very business, very logical and all that stuff. But I believe that both the logical, the hard work goes hand in hand with things on that spiritual realm. And I am not an expert on these things. I actually just follow another podcaster and someone on Instagram called Manifestation Babe, and if you don't know about her, you should definitely check her out. So I'm going to be leaning on the things that I learned from her and sharing that here, because I'm not the expert on these things. I'm really like a baby to all of this stuff, but I'm sharing what has worked for me and my own experiences and what I do and what my process is. So feel free to chime in, those of you who are listening on the live. And if you're listening via the podcast, I would love to still hear from you via the Instagram DMs. If you're getting this through and you're on my email list, feel free to reply and let me know your thoughts. Like, let's keep the conversation going. I don't want to just be like talking. I'd love to hear your feedback. So, manifesting your goals. There are 3 main things that I have outlined here in my notes to kind of structure this episode. So, the first thing is vision boarding. I'm going to start there since so many people are familiar with vision boarding, and I know I have been talking about it on my feed. Again, if you are not familiar, you're not seeing my post because the algorithm is shit, go get caught up, because I talk about having a vision for your business, for your life, and all those different things, and how my workbook kind of helps you kind of vision your brand. So I'm going to start with the visioning, because as I told you all, I see one of my past primary school schoolmates. Maybe she might remember, maybe she doesn't, but they call me a daydreamer, right? They call me a daydreamer because I was always daydreaming in class, to the point where they called me Alice in Wonderland. And I really wasn't fazed by it until I got a nickname and was kind of like teased a little bit. But I was just like, I don't know, I just had to let it roll off my back, because what would I do, right? What would I do if a teacher calls me Alice in Wonderland? I can't do anything about it. So I just had to let it roll off my back. But I've come to realize that we lose certain things as kids that could really help us even as adults. We lose that magic, we lose that playfulness approach to life. And everything in balance. So bringing back vision boarding. So I first made my first vision board back in 2009. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chanel Cooper Sykes, but I was really into Chanel. Found her YouTube channel, was hooked on her content, and she was showing you like the tour of her studio apartment in New York, and she had like all these affirmations on the wall, post-its. If you're not used to this kind of thing, you'll think she's crazy, but I didn't think she was crazy. I was genuinely fascinated, right? And she showed you like this vision board and how certain things came true, and I was just like, well, hey, this sounds like something fun to do. Like, it's not gonna hurt to try it. And that's when I first got introduced to vision boarding. I have manifested things on that board, but I think I didn't take it so seriously of how impactful it is. So even now today, as I've manifested new things with new vision boards, I think now the message is really stuck with me, how impactful a vision board is, and seeing it on a daily basis in a subliminal way. Now I am live here, so I can't show you the screensaver vision board that I made in February of 2019, and how at least one of the items came to pass by the end of the year, right? So vision boarding. So if you all read the post, I had like a very hard time with getting approved for a loan for anything, period, much less for getting a car. So this is why I say listen to the podcast, because there are things on the podcast that you wouldn't really hear about and I wouldn't talk about. It's really that more intimate space, so you guys get in this. So basically, I was paying. I had no vehicle, two kids, and it's very hard. That's baggage, right? Getting them to and fro from two schools. So it was really frustrating. But I was determined, and I was just like, okay, I'm not getting through the loan because my credit is shit. And funny enough, my daughter had a school project where we had to make a car. Now I was trying to make a hatchback car for this kid, right? And at the end of it, this car ended up looking like a march. And I was like, is a march coming into my life? So I just kind of like, okay, let's just see. But as I made it, I wish I could show you all. I'll take a picture and put it up in the story so you could actually see what I'm talking about. So on this car that I made out of cardboard for her to go to school, because they were doing like this 3D project, I drew myself and I drew the two of them in the back seat. I just added that just for kicks, right? For those of you who are friends with me on Facebook, you might have remembered that school project that I would have shared, right? And then in the process of like, okay, I was so willing, I needed to get some type of vehicular transportation, because as a single parent with no help, no support, being independent in that manner is very important. So I was just like, okay, some type of, I searched near and far, is there some type of lease to own arrangement that I could get? Of course, it's not going to be affordable in the sense that it's going to be an atrocious figure. So I was paying $2,100 TT for an old car every single month for the past 2 years. But while I was doing that, I was also correcting my credit history by taking an investment loan. So I just had to pay a certain amount of money to show and prove to these financial institutions that you all can trust me with a loan. And it was last year, November, I just kind of got, I don't know if you call it being guided or whatever. I just got this, I saw something on Instagram, and then I was just like, maybe it's time for me to try this again. Now, when you get turned down and you've been going from institution to institution to institution, again turned down, it's very traumatizing, especially as a self-employed person. I've spoken to other self-employed people, and it's traumatizing. I've heard people trying to get approved for loans for cars, and after they were like turned down. They turned to family and friends who were willing to loan them the money, and then they just went on vacation after because it was so stressful. Like that's how bad it is. If you've never walked that road and you've always had like a pay slip to go and get your shit done, then you may not understand, but trust me, it's very traumatizing. So I've also been like avoiding trying it to see, is this investment actually working? The only way to know if it's really working is to actually try and apply for a loan. So anyway, I can't give the whole story, but literally I was just felt called to try. And throughout the entire process, I felt anxiety, but I also felt this kind of calm, I guess calm confidence, but determination. And when I made the decision, I was just completely grateful. I didn't have content for the little old bucket I was driving. I Because I was still grateful for it. It was great on gas, never gave me trouble. Like I was still super grateful that I didn't have to depend on somebody to go to the grocery. Like y'all don't know my stories. Like y'all don't know my stories. So anyway, I'm still grateful, but I know that it's time to go to the next level. So one day I was just like so fired up, and I was like, you know what, I'm going for it. I'm going to do this. Da 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 da. So I was driving to go do something. I had to pick up the kids, and one of the things that I've picked up along the way is affirmations. Right, I'm gonna, I guess, kind of jump around. So one of the tips is vision board, and the next one is declaring affirmations and setting the intention. And one of the practices that actually feel really good, which is tip number 3, you have to tap into that emotion and that feeling of what it is that you desire, what you want, but you have to feel good about it. So the car is the perfect place because it's me alone, nobody could hear me, windows up, so you're driving. And that's something I used to practice from time to time, because that's another tip that I picked up from somebody else that I follow who's into this kind of thing, right? And she's like, one of the things that she likes to do to affirm, like if she's trying to hit a 10K launch, those people who hit those 6-figure launches, blah 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 blah. Like I'm always taking notes from other people's podcasts, and just trying to tap in to see how I could take those lessons and apply it to my business. Because the trick is to find the lessons and see how it could work in your life, your business. It's not to take the advice and the tips wholesale. So yeah, so I take the lessons and apply it. So those are one of the tips that I picked up. So I was like, okay, great, perfect timing. So I'm driving and I'm like visualizing this goal of the upgraded vehicle, and I'm visualizing it, feeling good, feeling grateful, and declaring it and shouting it out, and like feeling the feeling throughout my entire body. And I was just like, yes, it's happening. Yes, it's happening. Yes, it's happening. But of course, naturally, you still feel a little bit of caution, like, okay, but don't get too attached to the outcome, because that's another thing that I picked up along the way, is don't get attached to the outcome. Like feel it, affirm it, believe in it, but don't get attached to it. So I was also like, it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like believing but not being attached to it, if that makes any sense. So that is my second tip, which is you have to affirm, you have to believe, declare, and set your intentions for your goals. But I would say step 1 is to have a vision. Have the vision, and then you affirm it, declare it, believe it every single day. Right? I created this new vision board February of last year. And when I look at it, I'm blown away. Like, wow, I can't believe I manifested this in less than a year. It's exactly the picture. Now, when I say exactly the picture, it's not the exact model and all of that, but it's basically a hatchback vehicle. It's white, it's all of those things. And I can say the same for other things I would have manifested in the past, but I don't know, maybe it did blow me away, but then I just kind of took it for granted and kept it moving. So example of things that I would have manifested in my earlier 20s is like writing checks. Write checks to yourself. And at the point in time when I wrote those checks to myself, I had no clue where it was coming from, how it was going to happen. And that's another tip. Don't worry about the how. Don't overthink the vision boarding experience when you're putting it together. It's supposed to be fun. This is you creating your master blueprint, your master life, your dream life. Think of it like you're putting together your dream life. It's supposed to be fun. So you could do that on a Friday evening, a Friday night, on the weekend. That could be like your pastime this weekend, and have a glass of wine. This is just a quick break in the show to let you know that this episode is sponsored by my upcoming workshop series, Basic to Branded. Most new business owners fail to stop and think about what they are building and creating. Don't be another business owner who falls prey to the major pitfalls, or maybe you have been in business for a couple of years and you know you need to rebrand because you have grown so much since your beginning days. But before you rush out and rebrand, before you bring a new product to market, you need to understand who you are as a brand and where you are going. Build a brand with intention, purpose, and impact. Head on over to www.cassiamarina.me/basic to branded and get registered ASAP. Doors will be closing soon. And have fun with it, and let your imagination run wild with what would I love to see and show up in my life as goals. Have fun with it. And my first vision board was physical. My second one was physical as well. But it needed to be more private. I didn't want people to see it. So this is another tip. I don't know. Other people don't care, but for me it matters. You don't want to have negative energy on your vision board. So you want somebody to pass and be like, who she thinks she is? That's what you want to do. So for me, my second one, I made it in such a way that I could still see it, but I could close it. So let's say this is the entire thing, but I made it with like windows so that I can open it and close it and keep it somewhat private. So if you want to have a vision board, like in your office where you could see it every single day, or you live with many people at home, and you know, not all the people that you live with are positive. So not that they hate you, they're just not positive, and you just don't want that energy. So this is another way you can make it, fold it, and you can put it away. I didn't like the idea of hanging a flat vision board in my cupboard, because for me that kind of symbolized hiding it away in a cupboard, you know, have your shit hiding in the closet. So I prefer to not have it hidden in a closet, but just have like doors. But then the one I made last year, the other important thing to manifesting is that a lot of things really happen in the subconscious mind. So even though this wallpaper, it wasn't like the wallpaper that you would see all the time. It was the lock screen. So I would only see it when I am like opening my phone or checking the time, but not opening the phone. Because again, I don't want to be like around people and then they are always seeing my vision board as well. So I found that was like the perfect balance. So you kind of like see it quickly. So again, all of that, seeing those visions embedded into your subconscious mind is a great way to do it. So I didn't put it on my laptop because I know there would be instances where somebody might see my laptop screen. I feel like my iPhone was the best thing. So I made my vision board. Right, so if you're on the podcast, you wouldn't be seeing all of these things. So this is the computer screen. I left all of this white because I just want, like, when I'm looking at the time, everything to like show up properly. And then I had like a grid of 9 images. Well, I have, because I updated it recently and added new things. And it's like this. So all here is white, and then I just have pictures of stuff. So digital works great too. It doesn't have to be physical, and I feel like it's much faster and easier to put together, so that we're not procrastinating. Oh, okay, I need like glue, I need scissors, I need to find pictures, all of that stuff. So you can just go on Google, go on Pinterest, save images to a folder. So I like named the folder vision board images, created the file, designed it, and you can do this in Canva. Actually, I first discovered this exercise from Manifestation Babe. Definitely go check her out. Check out her YouTube channel. The whole exercise is on YouTube, and she shows you how to make it for your phone and how to make it for your desktop. And I just went ahead and made the one for my phone, and I can attest that this shit works. And not that just this works, but vision boarding period works. I've been doing it since 2009, and I have manifested actual checks of like 10K plus, and I don't know where it was coming from, but it came. And when you look back in the moment when it manifested, you don't like really realize, but you look back. It's like when I look back and I go through my drawers and I find checks that I would have written to myself, and in the signature part I put from the universe or from whoever you want to put. I'm just like, wow, when I wrote this, I would have felt like it was impossible, but I did it anyway. So go ahead and do these seemingly silly things anyway. So create the vision board, write checks to yourself. You don't know where the money's coming from, it's going to come. Somehow, the how will create itself. The how is not any of your business. And I'm not just saying this. This is what I've learned and this is what I've been told, and it's true. The how isn't any of your business. So for those of you, on a side note, who knows Alex Baden, I'm gonna shout out Alex as well. I was part of her mastermind, and I was like, okay, so Alex lives on the same island with me, and throughout this, it's not a mastermind, it's like a group coaching program. It was something that she created. It was like a course slash group coaching thing that I was a part of. And a couple weeks into it, I was just like, I have to meet Alex one day. And I was like, one day, I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm like running into her someday randomly at the beach. And the following week, she was messaging me saying, hey, she's in South doing this thing with her boyfriend, because he's a graphic designer and the owner of a clothing line. He's like, hey, yeah, I'll be in South, you should come by. Boom, 1 week later, met Alex Beaton. And she probably doesn't know this. If she does listen to this episode, well, then now she knows. But the point is, it's so important to declare stuff. Like, it's so freaking amazing when you set an intention and you declare it with every bone and being through your body. You have to really, 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 really believe and feel it. Like, I didn't think that was going to manifest a year later. I mean, a week later. So, like, when I got that message, I was like, what the frick? Didn't I just say this last week? So, it's amazing how fast even things can manifest itself. And I honestly to God believe in these things. I'm just, checking my notes to make sure I don't leave anything out. Yeah, so, just to rattle it through, I declared meeting Alex. It happened a week later. I declared slaying my week. Every time I declared I'm going to slay my week and not be a victim of circumstance or negative people or clients which is stressing you out or just life events, I set my intention, I'm going to have an awesome week. It happens. I declare certain money in the past. It happened. I took my time, made one step in front the other each day to bring in my dream car to life. That happened. I declare and that's how I make shit happen. Yeah, that's essentially how I roll. So if you haven't created a vision board for yourself, if you don't believe in manifestation but you're a bit curious and that's why you listen to this podcast episode, if you will trying to like really pinpoint the exact steps, those are the steps. Have the pictures you need to see your dream life, the dream situation. You have to affirm it and say it every single day, and you have to feel it. So don't try to do this when you're in a crappy mood. If you realize, hey, I'm feeling real high energy today and I'm feeling really good and I'm having a great day, take that opportunity to say some affirmations. You have to ride the wave of your emotions. That is where the magic happens. Yeah, I knew some people like wanted to know like, oh, what was the credit correction process is like. For those of you who didn't catch it, I basically I took life into my own hands because I kept getting turned down, kept getting told what I can't do and how bad the situation is. I was like, okay, what can I do? How can I correct this? Because this just can't be it. I refuse to believe this is it, because I know I have bigger goals than just that item that I was going for. And it's like that is like a major obstacle in my road of my life goals. And it's like I was thinking beyond that. It's like, so what? My life is supposed to stop because I can't access a loan? Like, no. So I was like, okay, what can I do? And I was just like really, I guess you could say I really wasn't expecting a positive answer. I was just really like fed up of the can'ts. And I think that's my approach to life in general, where it's like, okay, we're always hearing about how bad this is and how the government this and that. And for me, it's like, okay, great. We get the complaining out of our system. Right? What can we do? How can we make things better, make the best of the situation? So I was just like, okay, what can I do? And then the lady was just like, okay, so because if I didn't ask her question, she wasn't going to advise me. And that is something that I would say, to pick that up as a lesson. Don't wait for other people to tell you the secrets. You have to ask the right questions. Ask the right questions and you'll be surprised by the answers. And when I say like ask the right questions, I mean, instead of asking things like, well, why me and why do I have to go through that and who. No, ask the right questions. Okay, what can I do about this? And I just will never forget the moment where the lady was just like, okay, so you know what you could probably do? You could do an investment loan. And an investment loan is basically where they loan you X amount of dollars that you can't touch, you can't access. They put it in an account and you pay every single month towards this loan. And when you're done paying it off, it's yours. So it's like a savings. You pay it off and now you have access to it. So that's essentially what it was. And these are the types of conversations that I feel, I don't know if I'm not a part of them, but it's the type of conversations that you don't hear on a daily basis. And that's why I feel so passionate to kind of share this, to really open up people's minds that there are possibilities if you ask the right questions. And hopefully this will get you thinking creatively, like, okay, if she could do that in that situation, maybe I can approach my current situation from a different angle and from a different perspective. So yeah, like, what if I had never asked that question? Who was gonna tell me to go do that? I would have still be waiting around paying $2,100 for an old car, right? But I was grateful the entire time paying that $2,100 because it was costing me almost $3,000 a month to travel to get my kids to 2 different schools. So it was still better. So now I'm in a better position because I'm also saving. I don't have to pay that loan anymore. So that frees up cash flow. So if you have goals, if you are in a situation, it's never too late to rebuild. Yeah, that's the best way I want to put it. It's never too late to rebuild. And how I thought of it as well is like, if I start today, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road, I could be in a better position and on my way to continue the journey of building what I want for myself, for my kids, etc., etc. Because any moment we think, oh gosh, a whole 2 years, a whole 3 years, but the time is gonna pass anyway, right? At the point in time, I imagine myself 10 years down the road and I'll be like, can you be in this position 10 years down the road? Hell no. So I will sacrifice the 3 years, which actually paid it off sooner than the 3. So it turned out to be 2, which was the best sacrifice I think I made. All right, so that is it all in a nutshell. I hope this inspires you guys today to take charge of your own life, and that you aren't a victim of your circumstance, and that you can achieve and cultivate and mold the life that you want to experience. All right, this applies to business, this applies to personal, it all goes hand in hand. So that was the manifestation episode on Tea Time. I just wanted to like end this episode by kind of summing up a few things that weren't mentioned. Mainly being, now that I have dived into the spiritual woo woo energy aspect of things and creating vision boards, affirming things, declaring things while driving. I don't know. For me, something about when I'm driving, a lot of ideas come to mind. So maybe there's something with that. I think it's kind of like, when like you're running on a treadmill or you go jogging. I know some people say when they are in the bathroom, their best ideas come to mind. So if you find that certain situations your best ideas come to mind, I think that's probably where you are most creative. And I feel as though creating your dream life is part of you being a creator. And if you find that certain places, certain situations that you get your best ideas, that is probably the best time for you to declare and say affirmations. So that's just another tip there. And also, this is not to say that it just happens like magic. Yes, it is. But at the same time, when you've done all of this, it's not going to just happen. Now you follow it up with the work. Not saying to be obsessed with the how it's going to happen, but really just kind of creating some type of game plan. And the whole thing about when you do these things, it spins a chain reaction into motion, because now when you put those things on a vision board and you start to believe it with your whole being, when you say it, somehow there's a saying, the universe conspires. It's gonna conspire behind, the curtain, but then in front of the curtain, you are going to subconsciously start to do things that's going to support these things becoming a reality. So that's not to say you're just gonna write a check. That's not to say that you are going to stick pictures and then you're just going to lay on the couch and watch Netflix, right? This is no shade to Netflix. It's just an example. Like, if you aren't being productive, it doesn't have to be directly related to it. Things are just going to, I guess, for lack of a better word, magically kind of come together. You would have a firm, for example, I'm going to be fully vulnerable here. I have certain goals when it comes to more the teaching side of things, but I wouldn't have thought that me going to a particular networking event might help support that vision. So this is where I say, like, allow life to unfold and don't become obsessed with the how. And that's basically what I wanted to end this episode with, that after you've taken all of these woo-woo steps of having fun and creating this vision board and writing the checks, now what comes is the actual day-to-day things that you're going to do that's going to help support these things to come to pass. Right? So you do the manifestation stuff and then you get to work. All right, so if you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to share, screenshot and share and tag me and share this with a friend. And I would also love to hear your feedback. So feel free to reply in my email list. If you are notified of this episode via email, you can reply there. You can hit me up in the DMs. I'd love to hear from you guys. So until the next episode, take care.